CERN, this is where they have the famous Large Hadron Collider. This is like they're at the limits. It is the highest energy ever attained on Earth. And by the way, we would have done 3 times this energy had Congress not cut the funding for the superconducting supercollider that would have been built in Texas. That was cut back in the early 90s, right around just after peace broke out in Europe, by the way. Physicists are only really useful when we're at war, according to government funding. What are they doing over in China? Well, they're building the largest dam in the world, the Three Gorges Dam, and they have a burgeoning aerospace industry, growing at 14% a year, 13% a year. Their economy is growing at 10% a year. By the way, what's your interest rate you're getting on your savings account in your bank? 0.003. Okay. Other countries, different things are happening. Do you know that in Russia, they want to actually send a mission to deflect Apophis? Russia actually wants to fund it. And they invited us to participate. And I said, well, sure. But then I thought about it. Why is Russia creating the spaceship that's going to deflect Apophis, which, if it hits, wipes out the west coast of the United States? Aren't we the ones who's supposed to fund that mission and then invite others to participate? Isn't this how it has always been before? So that was an important news story for me because that is the beginning of the end. That's where you think you're at the top and people start doing things on their own with or without you. And all of a sudden, you gradually fade to insignificance on the world stage. We were not leading that mission. Let's keep going. How about Brazil? If I mention Brazil, what's the first thing you think of? Someone said, bikinis. The guys are saying, yeah, the tongue bikinis, yeah. Soccer, maybe? Okay. This is the American view of Brazil. I understand. It's completely understandable. However, it blinds you to the fact that they have a burgeoning aerospace industry. Do you know that most planes that you fly between regional cities is made and designed in Brazil? You're not thinking this because you're still distracted by bikinis. Brazil has the 3rd largest aerospace industry in the world, employing 18,000 people. It's a $20 billion industry there, and they invented the first airplane that can fly on alcohol. Brazil. Now, we don't do that because we just drink our alcohol. See, that's how that happens. We don't even think to make a plane out of it. So notice the American bias that prevents us from recognizing the rest of the world rising up as we stand there flat-footed. Europe. Let's take a look at pre-Euro currency. I'm intrigued by this. Before the Euro came out, Europe valued, they still do, they value their scientists enough to put them on their currency. Check this out. So you have Tesla in the upper right, Yugoslavia. Some Tesla fans out there. We got Copernicus, and who do we have? We have Marconi down here, and who pioneered radio communication, and and we have Saint Exupéry right here, not a scientist, but an aviator. And who's the cute little guy? Who's the little boy here? Who's that? Who's that together now? The Little Prince, of course. Who here did not know that that's the Little Prince? Admit it. Okay. So you see this, and you can flip over the currency, and it has the iconography of that person's life. So you have some, amazing lightning demonstration there, electrical discharge from Tesla. We've got sort of the sun-centered solar system. There's the tower. We got a biplane there, telescopes. It's all there. We keep going. Hang on. So here's Darwin from England. We got one of his finches. We've got some Darwin fans. What's odd, they always show him with this big old sort of grandpa beard, but he did his greatest work when he was 26. Here we have Al-Hassan, who figured out how sight worked. He's from 1,000 years ago in Baghdad. This is on Iraqi currency. And we got Albert here. He's adopted into Israeli currency. Of course, he was not Israeli, but when you're famous, everyone claims you. See, that's how that works. All of these folks are scientists. Keep going. We've got Euler and Galileo and Gauss and Faraday and Pasteur. We've got my boy Ike, and everybody's there. Oh, by the way, if we were to ask, who in the world do we think literally and perhaps stereotypically make the best engineers in the world? Germany, of course, you think about it. It's German engineering. It's a selling point when they sell cars, German engineering, okay? German engineering. Well, so that's 10 Deutschmarks, okay? On the right, that's Carl Friedrich Gauss, brilliant mathematician. Let's zoom in on that currency here. Wait a minute, what is that? Whoa, a mathematical distribution function on the money. Whoa, okay. Look at this. Imagine how different America would be if we had equations on our money. We might still be leading the world in something. Actually, we do have a scientist on our money, don't we? Who's that? Ben Franklin. Here he goes. So he's a scientist on money. Surely there's some iconography of his contributions. Let me see. Nope, there's not even a kite, all right? Or there's nothing. I don't even see a lightning rod, all right? So clearly that's not why he's on the money. He's on the money because he's a founding father, not because he was a scientist. In fact, he was one of the most famous scientists of his day. Some of you are getting the shakes here, I see. Haven't seen it since high school, have you? Okay. The periodic table of elements, it's color-coded. I have a cool program on my computer where you can color code them differently. Let's color code by melting point. How about that? I could do it by discovery date. This is before any element was actually discovered by anybody, and so it just lists the elements known to the ancients. We can slide the date forward, and now we're up to 1776. And so this is the entire periodic table of elements, which wasn't yet organized in that form, at the year of our Declaration of Independence. There's like a dozen elements there. This is 1869, starting to take shape. And so just giving a sense that you can play with this diagram. Now, what I'm going to do now is put the flag of the country that discovered each element. Okay? So let's check out what that looks like. Ooh. Okay, notice the right-hand column. You see the Union Jack there, very proud column in the UK. Helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon. This line of elements are the noble gases. Do you know why they're called noble gases? Because the British discovered them, and they learned that these elements don't combine with any other. And in their social structures, the noble class does not associate with any other. There's nowhere to be found up there because we weren't even a country when most of these elements were founded. But when we did become a country and Congress knew that physics, which specializes in matter, motion, and energy, might matter for war, particle accelerators were funded without limit. And it's out of these particle accelerators that we then take out the top end of the periodic table. September 11th, 2001, day we all remember. This happened 4 blocks from my residence. These are camcorder shots from my window. This is the North Tower on fire. The South Tower had just been hit about the 20th of a second before this frame was taken. You can see a piece of it punching out and the shadow of that. This is before the atomized fuel ignited, so it's really just the kinetic energy of the ship coming through. If you've never been to New York, just so you understand, this black building on the left is a 50-story hotel, all right? And the towers are 107 stories each. Why am I showing you this? Well, let me just get through it first. So the jet fuel ignites, creates a deflagration wave, And there it is engulfing the entire, and that's the remnants of the plane and people and everything else, office furniture coming out the side. Within an hour of that, the towers are just gone, all right? And this is the dust cloud that came after it. With loose quoting of biblical Genesis, he says, "Our God is the God who named the stars." What he did not know is that of all stars that have names, 2/3 of them have Arabic star names, okay? Where did that come from? What was going on? Because if you think of the Middle East now, and it's not where, you're not saying, hey, these are folks naming stars. You go back 1,000 years, Islam, 800 to 1100. In that period, it's generally called the golden age of Islam, of Islamic science. Golden age, there was no greater golden age in the history of the world before or after. When you look at the sum of advances that came out of that period in Baghdad, algebra was invented in that period. Algebra is itself an Arabic word. Algorithm is an Arabic word. Our numerals are Arabic numerals. Mathematics took great leaps and bounds. Agriculture, engineering, medicine, navigation. Star maps were made to assist navigation. Astrolabes were crafted. Then it all stopped. It ended. History as marked by changes of kings and leaders and wars. That's the lens through which many historians look at the past. And so if you ask people, they'll say, oh, the Mongols sacked Baghdad, and so that's why it all ended. And what you do is you read the writings of al-Ghazali, who is a Muslim cleric, and he was to Islam what St. Augustine was to Christianity. What he did was he taught you how to be a good Muslim. He taught you how to read the Quran and how to obey the commands, because back then people were just interpreting it for themselves. And basically his interpretation took over. And in that interpretation, it included the perspective that the manipulation of numbers is the work of the devil. This cuts the kneecaps out of any mathematical advances that would unfold. Math is the language of the universe. If you take that out of your personal equation, you no longer contribute to the advance of human understanding of that universe. And that absence of Muslim presence in the frontier of science persists to this day. Take a look at the Nobel Prize from 1900 to 2010. I can do this for the Jews, for example. How many Jews in the world? There's like 15 million tops, 15 million out of 7 billion people. These are the numbers of Jews who have won the Nobel Prize in the sciences. 25% of the Nobel Prizes to exhibit this. Let's look at the numbers for Islam. So these are Jews. There are 15 million Jews, 25% of the Nobel Prizes. There is 1.3 billion Muslims in the world. These are the numbers. 2.5. Okay, I'll give you 3 if you really want to include economics as a full number there, okay? With the question, how many secrets of the universe lay undiscovered, because 1.3 billion people who in an ancestral time would have participated in this enterprise and are now not. Okay, that's fine, but how about science in America? Uh-oh, okay, let's see where this takes us, don't you? You remember, every week there'd be some article in the newspaper, in the magazine, the city of tomorrow, transportation of tomorrow, the kitchen of tomorrow. That's how we used to think of tomorrow. This was the future in 1988, right? This is drawn in the 1950s, in 60s, thinking about the 1960s, thinking about the 1980s. Let's take a close look at what's going on in America. I think we have fear of numbers. Science illiteracy is rampant in our culture. This one, you get this a lot. The state lottery is a tax on the poor. We've heard this, because poor people spend a disproportionate fraction of their income on state lotteries. Does Washington have a state lottery? Every state has. But really, I don't think of it this way. I think of it as the state lottery is a tax on all those people who never did well in their math class. That's how I think about it. How about buildings? You go into buildings. 80% of all buildings are missing a 13th floor. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16. This is 21st century America, and we have people afraid of the number 13. And what happens when you get to lobby and then you go to floors below the lobby? What do they call them? B for basement, SB, sub SBB. Can I buy a vowel, please? Like, what are you doing there? We have perfectly good nomenclature for going below the lobby level. They're called negative numbers, okay? Good. But of course, this is America. There is a place in the world that has negative numbers. Oh, it's in Germany. It's a museum? No, it's a history museum. Germany. That's a closer look in case you missed it. We're talking about America, people. Bad engineering. You know, what is this? Okay, levees broke in New Orleans, 2005. You know, if you read accounts of this, they say, oh, Katrina came in and Hurricane Katrina, bad hurricane. Excuse me, pause, back up. Do you know Katrina was category 5 in the Gulf? On landfall, it was category 3. It had already passed over New Orleans. People were sweeping up some of the broken branches in the street. Then the levees broke. The city survived the hurricane just fine. What it is they didn't survive was faulty engineering. That was the problem in 2005. And I submit to you that you look at these images and people hoping to get rescued from their rooftops, and you ask yourself, what country is this? Some of us who are old enough, we used to see film loops of third world countries where you see an absence of infrastructure, people towing, you know, their belongings with an ox through mud. And you say, oh, that's the third world. We live in America. What country is this? In the middle of Manhattan, a steam pipe explodes. People died. Steam? Don't we know how to move steam from one place to another? Wait a minute, we're actually still using steam? Wait, what? Okay. I'm not going far back in time to get these stories. Bridge collapses. I-35, Minnesota. A bridge collapsed? You go through Europe, there's still bridges standing from the Roman Empire. We can't put a bridge over that, all right? That's not a river, this is a brook, all right? What country is this? Let's go to Los Angeles. Trains collide. People get hurt. Some people die. You think we would have figured this one out. A train comes this way, you don't send another train the opposite direction on the same track. That would be like commandment number 1. All right, Railroads 101. A crane collapsed. Back in New York, a crane collapsed. What, you can't hold up a crane? What country is this? What country is this? I'm not going far back in time here. This is, yesterday's news. What country are we living in? There's more what's going on. Profound science illiteracy in this country. Here's a book that I read before I came here. I read it in its entirety. How about this one? And this is one. How to Survive 2012. Tactics and Survival Places for the Coming Pole Shift. Pole shift? Where'd they get that from? The pole? The end of the world? In there is the Mayan calendar, because clearly the Mayans knew more about astrophysics than any of us do today. Clearly. What country is this? What millennium is this? I'll show you where this comes. Answering the question, did human beings, as we know them, develop from an earlier species of animals? This is simply evolution by natural selection. So if you're this sort of the green bar, it means yes to that question, which means that you're convinced by evolution. If you're this sort of amber bar on the right, it means no. And if you're the white in between, it means you're unsure. So America's got to be up there somewhere. No, Iceland, Denmark, Sweden, France, Japan, Britain, Norway, Belgium, Spain, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Hungary, Luxembourg, Iceland, Slovenia, Finland, Czech Republic, Estonia, Portugal, Malta, Switzerland, Slavic Republic, Poland, Austria, Croatia, Romania, Greece, Bulgaria, Lithuania, Latvia, Cyprus, United States of America, edging out Turkey by a nose. There it is. What country is this? Maybe we should just move back to the caves. Let's analyze it a little further. Here's a map. This map has the area of each country. So what we're about to do is morph the area of each country according to how much peer-reviewed science research is conducted in that country. Okay, let's do that. So this is a measure of who's doing the most science. Do this. Well, the United States is sitting fat and pretty there, I'd say. That's America. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Wait, what's that big purple region away? Whoa, what was that? What's that purple? Whoa. What country is that? Japan, kicking major science butt on the map right there. One of the great tragedies is Africa shrinking to nothing. Europe is huge. They split formerly Eastern Europe, that's in blue, from Western Europe, that's in those shades of pink. So, and there you have Brazil, that's the aerospace industry. Tyson, what are you complaining about? Okay? Okay? This is the wrong map. What you want to look at is not how much science is going on, no. You want to look at the change in how much science is going on from the year 2000 to 2010. That's the trend line. That is the future of the world. 2010, and you get this. Europe is even bigger. Japan is even bigger. China is huge. Africa is even smaller. Not. We slowly fade. This is the fading that worried me when Russia says, oh, you guys want to join us for a mission that will save your West Coast? See what NASA's been up to. NASA, that's how you spell it, NASA, right there. It actually doesn't get much money. People think it gets a lot of money. Well, that's actually quite a compliment to NASA. Most people think NASA gets 10% of the federal budget, 20% of the federal budget. 0.005 times the federal budget. So this is 1/2 of 1%, 1/2 of a penny on your tax dollar. If you pull out a dollar bill and you cut 1/2 of 1% of its width, that is NASA's annual budget, and it pays for the space shuttle, all launch vehicles, the Mars rovers, Hubble, space station, astronauts, NASA centers, space missions, all of it. So the people say, why are you spending money up there and not there? Let me keep going here. We somehow believe that we were leaders and visionaries in space. Here's an interesting quote. I'm not that interested in space. I wonder who said that. John Kennedy to James Webb in 1962. That's who said that. How about this quote? It's Kennedy again. This is, whether we like it or not, a race. Everything we do ought to be tied to getting to the moon. So it had nothing to do with we're explorers, we're visionaries, where's our DNA, we're American. It's like, no, we're at war. Russia is beating us in every measurable way. So I'm angry. I'm angry, so I have to calm down. Let's take a look at something real quick. Cosmic abundances of the elements, ranking them top to bottom, most abundant to least. Number 1 in the universe, hydrogen, cool. Number 2, helium, very nice. Number 3, oxygen. 4, carbon. 5, nitrogen. My favorite element of them all, other. Okay, so then, how about life on Earth? We are one for one the same ingredients. We are the same as the universe. And these elements are forged in the centers of stars. This is actually an image of the center of the galaxy, but there's stars within here that forge those elements, explode from what we call supernova explosions, scattering their enriched guts across the galaxy. Pull out the power of the Hubble Space Telescope and say, I'm not going to look at this big galaxy. I want to look at an uninteresting corner of the dark night sky and show me what's there. This is what shows up. This image has 3 stars in it, every single splotch on this image. This is the Hubble Ultra Deep Field. That's what it's called. And you sit here and gaze upon it and recognize that every smudge is like our own Milky Way, containing hundreds of billions of stars.